This is the second part of a two-part tutorial on using Google Drive. If you have not viewed part 1, you should do that before you watch this part. Okay, in the first part, we talked about how you upload files and folders, and we talked about how you create various items from folders to Word documents, PowerPoint presentations, Excel spreadsheets, forms, so forth and so on. So in this lesson, we're going to talk about how you share items that you've uploaded into your Google Drive, how people share with you, and then we're also going to talk a little bit about organization. And in that realm, we're going to create a file structure. So those are the items we're going to talk about here. So let's first of all talk about sharing. What does it mean to share? What you're doing is you're giving someone access to a folder or a file that you would like them to see, all the way up to maybe you would like to actually have them edit that particular item. And you can also turn ownership over to that individual. So we're going to take this one item that we added, if you remember from the first video, this Flint in-service file here. This is a Word document. You can tell from this blue document icon here. Spreadsheet and forms. There's a drawing item down here. I don't know if I have any PowerPoints in here, so you can see what that emblem looks like. But so in this particular case, this is the item that we want to share. So what you want to do is you want to put your cursor somewhere, don't want to launch the file, but somewhere in this open spot on the same line horizontally as that file. And then you're going to right click. And so you're going to get this drop down menu. And what you want to do is you want to go to share. And so you have these choices here under share. You have email collaborators and email as an attachment. The email as attachment, let's talk about that first. If you're not sure that someone has a Google account, a Gmail and Google Drive account, you can email as an attachment. But if you're a Baker person and you're sending it to somebody else who's a Baker person, everybody in Baker already has a Google account, they have a Gmail account, and email collaborators is where you're going to want to go. So we're going to click on email collaborators. So here's a couple of things to point out to you. First of all, this particular item is listed as private. I'm the only one who can access it, but as you can see here, I have the ability to change it. I can make this item public, which means anybody on the web can see it. I can make it to anyone with a link, or I can, the default here is specific people. So only people explicitly granted permission can access. So unless you're going to release it to the public, you're generally probably going to be safe just keeping the default option of this radio button clicked here. But if I did make a change here, I would want to hit save. So at this particular point, it shows I am the owner of this document, and there currently are no collaborators. So all I need to do is to invite people. So I can pick people, email address that I know. I could go into my contact list. If I don't know what their email addresses are, you just separate them by a comma. And then I have some choices that I can make. The default is to can edit, which means if I share this document, these other people that I have listed in this box actually have the ability to change the document. That may be something you may not want to have happen. Maybe you just want them to view it. But the default, remember, is can edit. So if you do not change this, anything you send to somebody, they can actually tweak it. They can change it, they can delete items, they can add items. So you have to understand whether or not that's something that you want. Assuming that that's not a choice that you want, the other two choices are can view, which is read only. They're able to see the item, but it's essentially, it's kind of like a PDF. It's just an image. They cannot actually change anything on there. Or can comment. Can comment is they have the image, they can see it, they cannot modify or edit it in any way, shape, or form, but they can leave you comments. There's a dialog box that appears, and they can actually leave you comments. I'm going to keep it on can edit right now. Let's look at the other choices. notify people via email and add a message. So for example, if you were talking to another person or some individuals and somebody says, well, that's a great idea, can you share that with me? What I would do then is I would put their email address in here. I would keep check, notify people via email, and then I would add a message, something like, hello, here is the document I was referring to in our meeting today. So I can send a copy of this to myself. I don't need to do that. I can actually paste the item inside the email rather than this link that the person would get in order to get access. They would actually get the item. So if it's a Word document, that Word document would actually be open in the email. I generally don't like to do that. So if I'm all set, I'm going to hit send. And now we see that I am still listed as the owner. There's another account that I have. That person has the editing privileges, and this other person has the editing privileges as well. I can change the editing privileges at any time. If I no longer want somebody to have access, I can actually hit this X and it will eliminate that person. I do want to go back to this box to show you other things. One is, not only do I have those three choices I originally showed you, but I can also make an individual person the owner. Right now, I, as the creator, I'm the owner. But maybe I'm going to work on something, get it to a certain stage of completion, and then I want to turn it over to a teammate, and I no longer need to have access or be in charge of it or whatever. I could then, once I finish my stuff, I can take another individual that I've shared it with, and I can change them and make them the owner. Now see, I have changed, and Sandy is now the owner, and I just have the editing privileges back. So essentially, we've kind of switched roles. Okay? It's not something I'm going to want to do. Also at this point, in case there's somebody else who we want to have access to this, I can just enter that email address for a new person that we want to invite to have access. I can adjust their permissions. Maybe I want to give them just can view only, and then I send that out. And so now we see we have the owner, we have two people that have editing privileges, and one person that has view-only privileges. Okay? And the other thing now that you will notice when we look at that particular document, it's identified as this is a document that's shared. The rest of these documents listed in this folder are not shared. So let's talk about the sharing when you're on the response side or the recipient side of that particular share. My drive is actually an area that everything that I've created and working on is stored in my drive. That's the default, that's the location right when you log into Google Drive. If I click on Share with Me, these are all the items that someone has sent to me and given me shared permissions with. And so the items would be listed there, who the person was who sent them, and the date that they sent that particular item, and then I could open that particular folder and determine what kind of access that I had, if I was able to just open it up and read it, or if I also had editing privileges and so forth. So that's how you're going to find the drive access and or what's been shared with me. Okay? So that takes us to the next thing I want to show you, and that is how to create a file structure. When you have all of these items in here, pretty soon your list of what you have loaded in your drive is going to get kind of long. So it's a good idea to create a little bit of a file structure so you can keep things organized and group things together. So if you may remember, we have the ability to use this create button right here, and we can actually create a folder. So it's going to open up this dialog box, and we need to give this particular folder a name. So we've now created this folder, Google Test Items Training. So what I have the ability to do then is I can move things in here. Now I can create this folder on the front end and then add items if I have a particular folder and I want to add something to it. Now that I'm in this EdTech folder, I can actually show, just like I did in the previous movie, I can go to Upload and grab a file and or a folder and include it right here. But assuming that we're in a situation where I have my list of what I have going on. I've created this new folder, and now I would like to take items that I already have in my Google Drive and move them into that particular folder. All I have to do is highlight the ones that I want to move. And so you have some choices up here. This particular icon here, just to the left of the trash can, which as you can see is a remove folder, is a move to. So when I click on move to, I actually can then identify the folder I want to move these items into. Click on that, notice it has the check mark next to it. Or once I've highlighted all those items, if I had not created the file folder already, I can actually now do that right from this particular spot. But I've already created the file folder. I've identified this as where I want these 5 particular items moved to, and I'm going to click on move, and now you see that they've disappeared here. And if I go into my Google Test Items training, there's my 5 items. So it's that simple. Hopefully you found this helpful. Send an email to edtech@baker.edu or go try our guides.baker.edu/edtech website and click on the tutorials tab to get access to more items for training purposes and to help using Google and other technology tools. Thanks.